Janet and Kelvin were the kind of couple that made people smile. They were always holding hands, laughing together, and supporting each other through everything. Kelvin was a successful businessman who owned a chain of electronic stores. He was always busy, but he never forgot to send flowers or surprise Janet with breakfast in bed. Janet, on the other hand, was a kind and caring nurse. She worked in a busy hospital, but she always made time for her husband. Every Saturday, they would go for a walk in the park, eat ice cream, and talk about their dreams. Kelvin, Janet said one afternoon while they walked under the trees, "I'm so proud of you. You work so hard, yet you always make time for me." Kelvin smiled and held her hand tighter. "You're my heartbeat, Janet. Without you, none of this would matter." People who knew them admired their love. Their neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Alabi, would often say, "That's the kind of love everyone prays for." But then, one morning, everything changed. Janet was getting ready for work when she suddenly felt dizzy. She leaned against the wall, holding her head. "Janet. Are you okay?" Kelvin rushed to her side. I feel lightheaded," she whispered. Kelvin quickly helped her sit down. "We are going to the hospital now." At the hospital, the doctors ran some tests. After some hours, a doctor came into the room with a serious look on his face. "Mr. Kelvin, can I speak with you privately?" Kelvin's heart sank. "No, please. Whatever it is, say it here. I want to hear it with her." The doctor nodded. "The results show some concerns with Janet's kidneys. We will need to monitor her closely." Weeks passed, then months. Janet's condition didn't get better. She became weaker, and the dizziness continued. One evening, she fainted while trying to stand up. Kelvin carried her in his arms, tears in his eyes. "Stay with me, Janet. Please." At the hospital, after another round of tests, the doctor called Kelvin again. "I'm afraid Janet has kidney failure. She'll need a transplant as soon as possible." Kelvin stood there, frozen. His heart beat faster. He looked at his wife, who was lying weakly on the hospital bed. He walked to her, took her hand gently, and whispered, "Don't worry, love. We'll get through this together." Luckily for them, after several tests, the doctor called Kelvin aside. "You're a perfect match for Janet," he said. Kelvin didn't even blink. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's do the surgery." The doctor looked surprised. "You don't want to take some time to think about it?" Kelvin shook his head. "That's my wife. I'd do anything to save her." Janet cried when she heard what Kelvin was planning. "No, Kelvin," she said, holding his hands tightly. "I can't let you go through this for me." Kelvin kissed her forehead gently. "I made a promise to love you in sickness and in health. I'm not backing out now." The surgery was done. It was successful. Janet recovered quickly. Her smile returned, and her strength came back. Everyone was so happy, especially their neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Alabi. "You see what true love looks like," Mr. Alabi said, shaking his head with admiration. "Kelvin is a good man." Janet returned to work at the hospital, and her colleagues welcomed her with joy. "We missed you, Nurse Janet," said Busy, a young nurse she had mentored. "You look amazing." Janet laughed. "It feels good to be back." But things began to change for Kelvin. At first, it was just tiredness. Then, he started losing weight. He would wake up feeling weak and sometimes couldn't even get out of bed. "Kelvin, what's wrong?" Janet asked one morning as she touched his forehead. He felt warm. "I'm just tired, babe. Maybe I need rest," he replied weakly. But it didn't stop. He became lean, pale, and often struggled to breathe. They went back to the hospital. Then another. And another. The doctors did several tests. "Everything seems normal," one doctor said. "But clearly, he's not okay." They tried herbal medicine. Prayed. Visited specialists. Still, nothing worked. One night, Janet sat by his bed, tears in her eyes. "I wish I could give you back the kidney," she whispered, holding his frail hand. Kelvin gave a weak smile. "Don't say that. I don't regret it, Janet. You're alive. That's all that matters." Janet became the breadwinner of the home. She worked long hours at the hospital, and she also started a side business selling skincare products online. Money was coming in, but something was changing. She no longer looked at Kelvin the same way. The love that once filled her heart began to fade like a distant memory. One evening, Janet was dressing up in front of the mirror, applying makeup and wearing a tight red dress. Kelvin, lying on the couch, looked at her with tired eyes. "Are you going somewhere?" he asked gently. Janet didn't even look at him. "Yes. I have a meeting. At this time." "Janet, it's almost 9 p.m. She turned sharply. "Must you question me every time I go out? You don't work. You don't earn. You just sit here all day." Kelvin's heart broke a little more. He looked down. "I didn't mean it like that. I just worry about you." "Well, don't," she snapped and picked up her purse. "Worry about yourself." She stormed out and slammed the door. Janet began coming home very late. Sometimes 11 p.m., other times past midnight. Her phone would ring, and she'd laugh loudly, speaking softly like she was in love. When Kelvin asked who it was, she would hiss. "You're monitoring me now, eh? Are you my father? Do you want to die of jealousy?" she barked. Kelvin coughed weakly and turned away. She stopped cooking for him. Kelvin often stayed hungry until his neighbor, Mrs. Alobi, started bringing him food. "Kelvin," she said one afternoon as she handed him a plate of rice. "Please eat. You look so weak." Kelvin smiled faintly. "God bless you, Mrs. Alobi." Janet came in that evening and saw the empty plate. "So you've started begging for food now," she mocked. "From our neighbor. Are you not ashamed?" Kelvin didn't answer. He just looked at her with pain in his eyes. At the hospital, some of Janet's colleagues noticed her behavior. One day during lunch, Busy approached her carefully. "Janet," she began, "is everything okay at home?" Janet rolled her eyes. "Everything is fine. You've changed. I remember how you used to talk about your husband with love." Janet hissed. "That was before he became a burden. I'm tired, Busy. I'm still young, beautiful, and full of life. I can't be tied down by a sick man." Busy looked shocked. "But he gave you his kidney." Janet looked away. "So, does that mean I should die with him?" "I beg, leave that matter." At church, people began whispering. Janet would come dressed in fine clothes, laughing with other men, while Kelvin stayed at home, too weak to even sit up. One night, Janet stood by the window, staring at the moon. "If only he would just die," she whispered to herself. "I would be free." She didn't know Kelvin had heard her. He closed his eyes and held back the tears. One day, while Janet was at the hospital, a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of the building. A tall man in sunglasses stepped out. He opened the door for Janet and smiled. "Hey beautiful," he said. "Ready for lunch?" Janet smiled and walked toward him. "Always ready, Alex." Alex, the man with the expensive car, had been picking Janet up from work for weeks. He wore designer clothes, gold wristwatches, and always appeared rich. He would take Janet to a big, beautiful house. "Wow," Janet once said as they entered the mansion. "This place is like something from a movie." Alex chuckled. "Well, what can I say? Hard work pays off." They would swim in the private pool, drink wine, and laugh like teenagers. Janet had completely forgotten the man who gave her his kidney. Kelvin stayed at home, growing weaker, while she lived a double life. But what Janet didn't know was far bigger than her. Alex was just a driver. The house wasn't his. The car wasn't his. He worked for Mr. Raphael, a rich businessman who lived in the United States. And Mr. Raphael. He had CCTV cameras in every corner of his mansion. Through his mobile phone, he watched everything happening in his house, even while abroad. One evening, while relaxing in his room in New York, Mr. Raphael received a notification on his phone. He tapped it and saw a video playing. It showed his driver, Alex, on his couch with Janet, having a romantic affair. Wait, what? Enough of this. Furious, he booked a flight home immediately, without telling anyone. 3 days later. It was a quiet afternoon. Janet and Alex were lying on the couch in the mansion, sipping juice and laughing. This is the life, Janet said, stretching. You're not like other men. You're different. Alex smirked. Of course. I told you I don't like stress. I just enjoy my money in peace. Suddenly, they heard the sound of the front door unlocking. Janet sat up quickly. Are you expecting someone? Alex frowned. No. No one knows I'm here. The door swung open, and Mr. Raphael stepped in visibly angry. Alex jumped up, startled. Sir. I didn't know you were back. Janet stood up too, confused. Wait, who is this? Mr. Raphael turned to her sharply. I am Mr. Raphael, the owner of this house. She froze. What? She screamed in disbelief. Janet turned to Alex. Alex, what about the cars, everything? You mean they are not yours? Alex scratched his head, panicking. Janet, I didn't mean to lie. I just... Mr. Raphael raised his voice. Enough. You're fired. Get out of my house. Now. Alex tried to beg. Sir, please. I said out. Alex ran outside, embarrassed and afraid. Janet, stunned and speechless, stood frozen. Mr. Raphael looked at her, shaking his head. Leave. Janet picked up her handbag slowly and walked out of the mansion, head bowed in shame. It had been a while since Mr. Raphael last spoke to his old friend Kelvin. One quiet Saturday morning, he decided to pay him a surprise visit. As he approached Kelvin's small apartment, he was shocked by what he saw. Kelvin, frail and thin, sitting weakly on a plastic chair outside his house, coughing and struggling to breathe. Kelvin. Raphael called out, his voice filled with concern. Kelvin turned slowly and tried to smile. Raphael, is that really you? Raphael rushed over and knelt beside him. My God. What happened to you? You look nothing like the man I used to know. Kelvin sighed deeply. It's a long story, my friend. Tell me everything, Raphael said, helping him back inside. Inside the small room, Kelvin began to talk, his voice weak. I donated my kidney to save Janet, she was dying. I didn't think twice. I just did it because I loved her. Raphael listened in silence, his heart heavy. But ever since then, Kelvin continued, my health has gone down. And Janet, she changed. She stopped loving me. She stopped caring. She even started insulting me, sometimes she stays out all night. She treats me like a burden. Raphael clenched his jaw. Are you serious? Before Kelvin could respond, the door creaked open. Janet walked in, holding a shopping bag. She froze when she saw Mr. Raphael. Her eyes widened. You? What are you doing here? Raphael stood up slowly. I should be asking you the same question. Kelvin looked back and forth between them, confused. Wait, you two know each other? Janet stammered. I can explain. No need, Raphael said calmly. He turned to Kelvin. Please, excuse me. I'll come back. And with that, Mr. Raphael walked out. 2 weeks later, Raphael returned. Kelvin, he said, pack your bag. We are going to the US. You need proper medical treatment. I've made all the arrangements. Kelvin was shocked. Raphael, I don't even have. It's all covered. You saved someone's life. Now let someone save yours. Kelvin's eyes welled up. Thank you, Raphael. I'll never forget this. In the United States, Kelvin was admitted into a top hospital. After weeks of treatment, he began to feel strong again. He looked in the mirror and almost didn't recognize the healthy man staring back at him. One evening, Raphael visited his hospital room. I'm glad you're better, he said with a smile. Thank you, my friend. You gave me another chance, Kelvin said, deeply grateful. Raphael's face became serious. There's something you need to see, he said, pulling out his phone. He opened a video clip. Kelvin watched silently as the footage played, Janet and Alex on the couch, laughing, cuddling, kissing, in the same house she claimed belonged to Alex. He blinked, stunned. This can't be real. I'm sorry, Kelvin, Raphael said quietly. That house. That was my house. Alex. My driver. Kelvin dropped the phone and sat back, speechless. After everything I did, she still betrayed me. When they returned home, Kelvin was a new man, physically stronger, emotionally tougher. He filed for divorce. I can't do this anymore, Janet, he said calmly, standing in front of her. You've broken me in ways I can't explain. But I'm done. It's over. Janet dropped to her knees, tears rolling down her face. Kelvin, please forgive me. I was lost. I didn't mean to hurt you. Kelvin looked at her with sad eyes. You hurt me when I was at my weakest. You forgot everything we shared. I can't go back. Raphael helped Kelvin start a new electronics business, bigger and better than before. Customers came flooding in, and soon, Kelvin was once again known as a successful businessman. But this time, he moved with wisdom and caution. In his heart, he carried a hard lesson. Love must be mutual, not one-sided. Never give your all to someone who wouldn't give half for you. And Janet. She lived alone. The laughter disappeared. The compliments stopped. The mansion visits were gone. Every time she passed by Kelvin's new shop and saw him smiling, stronger than ever, her heart sank deeper into guilt and shame. She had lost a good man, all because she didn't value what she had. And that regret. It stayed with her, forever.
Please subscribe to Oscar's African Folktales for more interesting, educative and entertaining stories. Turn on the notification icon by clicking on the bell to get notified of new interesting videos so that you won't miss out on any. Thank you.